Number 19, I have three terms, and in order to simplify it, I might be able to combine some terms, I'm not quite sure. So what I want to think about are perfect squares. So the perfect squares are things like 2 squared, which is 4, 3 squared, which is 9, 4 squared, which is 16, 5 squared, which is 25, 6 squared, which is 36, 7 squared, which is 49, and so on and so forth. I don't need to go any further because the highest number I have is 18. So now I'm going to think for a second. Does 4 go into 18? Does 9 go into 18? Yep. So I'm going to say the square root of 9 times 2, because 9 times 2 equals 18. So I'm going to replace this whole term and rewrite it so I have the square root of 9 like that. Does that make sense? Those two things that are underlined are the same thing. Now this one is the square root of 2, so that one doesn't change. I can't simplify the radical anymore. Now let's do the third term. This third term, this negative 3, does 4 go into 12? So I could think of this as negative 3 times the square root of 4 times the square root of 3, because 4 times 3 is equal to 12. And we just carry on and just put the negative 3 down there. So these two things highlighted in blue are the same, just written a little different. So now I'm going to reduce some of these things. So now I'm going to say negative 2 times, what's the square root of 9? 3. So times 3, and then the square root of 2 can't be reduced anymore. This one doesn't change much, so I'm just going to say minus 3 times the square root of 2. And then what is the square root of 4? 2. Now what's negative 2 times 3? So I've got negative 6 square root of 2 minus 3 square root of 2. And then what's negative 3 times 2?
Negative 6.
Negative 6 square root of 3. Now I'm almost done. Almost. If I were to say to you guys, what's negative 6x minus 3x? If you guys were to combine those, what would you say? Negative 9x, right? Those combine to be negative 9x. Well, what we're doing is, remember that x represents a number, any number. And so it's like terms. Well, here's an interesting thing. Over here, I have the square root of 2 and the square root of 2. So we could think of those as like terms. So if I have a negative 6 times the square root of 2 and a negative 3 times the square root of 2, I could think of it like negative 6x minus 3x, which would simplify to be negative 9, but instead of x, we're going to put the square root of 2. And over here we have minus 6 square root of 3. Now you might say to yourself, well, can I combine these two? No, because the square root of 3 is completely different. It's not a like term. Does that make sense? It would be like saying x and y. You can't combine the two. They're not the same term. So our final answer is negative 9 square root of 2 minus 6 square root of 3. Any questions on that one?